Hi, I'm Hazel. It is almost Saturday, which makes it time to catch up with a new vlog, and this week's #1 headline that caught my eye was Strand of the Ancients being removed in Battle for Azeroth. You know, that beach that had all the tanks on it that we all used to go and smack each other on? You can't go there anymore in BFA, you know? It's just being removed. It's just, there's a big current, you know, along the coastline, and the boats don't want to go there anymore, and you don't really want to argue with the boat people, so, yeah, no more Strand of the Ancients. I was surprised to read that headline, because it's not very often that they take a piece of content and just flat out delete it from the game. I would be surprised if it's removed like forever, although I also wouldn't be that surprised. Haven't they removed Battlegrounds before? Has this not happened before? I have a feeling like it has, but I can't remember. If you know more, please tell me in the comments. But yeah, Strand of the Ancients is gone, and honestly, my first reaction was, bye. And then I thought about it for a bit, and I thought of all of the memories that I have on Strand of the Ancients, and I think I'm still sticking with my opinion of being, well, bye, you know, thanks for all the honor, I guess. Strand was a unique battleground, but I was never really happy to be there. But I think I'm just starting to realize that I'm not a really big fan of vehicle mechanics in PvP. I'm trying to think of any vehicle mechanic where I was really all excited about, you know what? I don't think I'm very good at my character. I'm gonna get in this tank and then press my 1, 2, 3 buttons instead, because, you know, at least then I'll be helping. I've had those thoughts before, but it never really felt good to think them. Isle of Conquest will still be a battleground, so it's not like there will be no options for BGs that include vehicles, but Isle of Conquest is being moved along with Alterac Valley into a new queue bucket, so you will not get any of those 40-man battlegrounds while you're just queuing for a regular random. You have to specifically queue into that, and that also has the added benefit of freeing up your blacklist a little bit, because I know at least whenever I did queue for a random BG, was always blacklisting the 40-mans, just because they would make your queue time longer, just because of how many people it took to fill them. Like, I always found I had much faster queues by taking those out, even if I did want to play them, which I typically didn't. So as far as I'm concerned, this is good news all around. I definitely get that there's probably going to be people that will miss Strand of the Ancients. Taking content out of the game is always going to be controversial, but a lot of the reactions that I'm reading, at least online, are kind of similar to the ones that happened when they took out First Aid. There was a lot of people on the good riddance train. There was a bunch more people on the I didn't play this content, but I'm still confused that it's being removed train. And then there were a couple of people that were genuinely upset about it. So I'm interested to see how the reactions pan out for this, but I think it's going to be one of the less controversial things for them to take out of the game. We got another BFA dev Q&A with Ion. I did watch the whole thing, and nothing was super surprising to me. They did talk a lot about the current reception of the GCD changes, which, if you're not familiar, a lot of things that are currently not on the GCD are being put onto the GCD in BFA, a lot of like offensive cooldowns, that kind of thing. So we talked a little bit about what the goals are for that and how it's kind of a change looking a little more long-term, and that a lot of the changes that are being made to WoW these days are kind of done so with the next 5-10 years in mind. Now that they've kind of committed to continuing to make WoW for a while, they have to really think sustainably when they do things like this. So something like putting things on the GCD, they know that that's not going to feel great right now. There's no world in which it feels better to have something become less convenient, but it's one of those things that can be kind of necessary for the continued health of the game and kind of maintain the identity of WoW as like a hotkey MMO and not like a button masher action game. They want to try and hold on to more of the decision making that happens as you allocate your GCDs and have it less be the correct answer being pressing all of the buttons at once as quickly as you possibly can. It makes sense to me, but as a PvE Shadow Priest, I am playing one of the classes that is less affected by this change. We had not that many things that were off the GCD anyways, so I'm sure that classes with varying levels of impact are going to be varying levels of unnerved by it. Unsurprisingly, the High Elf thing came up in the Q&A, and Ion's answer was basically, you know, we have High Elves, kind of, you know, they're Blood Elves. Sure, the story's a little different, but aesthetically speaking, you know, it's an eye color thing, and we might get you some contacts later. If you really want to be like a pale, elegant, classic fantasy elf, you know, your best bet is a Blood Elf. They're on the Horde, they're that way. And that's kind of been my opinion as well on the High Elf thing, is that aesthetically, there just aren't enough differences between the elves that we already have to justify another playable race. I definitely understand that High Elves in WoW are a very cool thing in the lore and story-wise. I understand the reasons why people want to play them, but I also agree that it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. We have so many elves. We have so many elves. It's a lot of elves. I also think that just because there is a super cool race in the lore doesn't mean that it needs to be playable. It can still add a lot to the identity and the fantasy of WoW without you being directly able to play it. I think a really good example of that is dragon characters. We can't play as dragons, although if they're gonna let us, I'm not gonna say no. But that doesn't take away from what they bring to the story and the feel and the atmosphere of WoW, like the backdrop. I think that that's still pretty intact. Other news in BFA development stuff this week, we officially moved from BFA Alpha into BFA Beta, with very few noted differences aside from the fact that most of the basic adjustments are in. There's going to be a lot of fine-tuning, and there's still things yet to hit the beta, but, you know, most of the broad strokes class changes are in, that kind of thing. And they also added a lot more people. So if you want to check to see if you got into the BFA beta, you want to go to your Blizzard launcher, go to the WoW tab, and above the play button, check that drop-down list. If you are in the beta, when you click on that drop-down list, there will be an option that says Battle for Azeroth Beta. So that is where you find out. Pet battle content is starting to go in, or at least that's what I hear from the Blue Post. I haven't seen any yet, but there was a character wipe, so we are starting over from alpha going into beta, so I need to catch up a little bit, but I'm really excited to test that out. My current plan for pet tamer videos is I'm gonna, if I can find them all, and then if they're all fightable, which I would assume they are based on what Jeremy said about wanting family fighter type achievements to be doable at your own pace without having to wait for people to be up. I would assume that you can just fight them when you find them. But if I can find them all, and if I can fight them all, I want to do a preview video that shows you who the tamers are, where they are, and what kind of pets they have. And then I'll get started on 2 pet guides for all of the new tamers so that those can hopefully all be out and ready by the time that BFA launches. I am not planning on doing full achievement guides for each tamer like I did for Family Fighter on Argus. I no longer think that individual video guides is the best way to handle that kind of thing. I think that a website like WoW Pet Guide, who has excellent Family Familiar, Family Fighter guides, that kind of thing makes more sense. It's very crowdsourced. It has support for showing multiple different strategies, so if you're missing pets for one, you can check through different options, and it's just a better way of doing achievements like Family Fighter. So I will do 2 pet guides, I will not do achievement guides, and you can expect a preview first to show you where the tamers are and what kind of stuff they're working with. So I'm really excited for pet stuff. Outside of WoW this week, the new Hearthstone stuff is starting to kind of suck me in, which is unfortunate because I wasn't prepared for it too. I didn't have any gold saved up for a new pack, so I have like no cards. But the new single player thing, the dungeon boss thing, came out this week, and that is dangerous because I have no self-control when it comes to that. I just start a run and I'm like, oh, I can just do this 5-minute fight, you know, while I'm doing something else, but I found that I am incapable of stopping playing until I have finished that entire run, which can take quite a while if you start doing pretty well. So yeah, that's a little bit dangerous, but it's really fun. I absolutely love the dungeon boss thing from Kobolds and Catacombs, so this is really doing it for me. I have already beat it on Test Greymane, and that makes me kind of wonder if it's tuned a little bit easier so far, because I definitely didn't beat any of the dungeon bosses on any classes that easily in the older one, but I could also have just gotten really lucky, so who knows. In Hazelnuttygames meta channel stuff this week, we figured out, and by we, I mean somebody told me in stream chat, and then I did some research and found out it was true, we figured out what was breaking the live chat replay on the stream VODs, and it turns out that it's broken when you edit a stream VOD. So when I was cutting off the 5-minute intro for the VOD, that was disabling chat replay. So I think I've decided for now, until YouTube fixes this, to actually not do the 5-minute intro, to just turn on stream and start it right at the start time and then just go, and people will show up as they show up, and I'll try to not do anything too crazy in the first 5 minutes. I think that's my plan for now. Hopefully YouTube gets that sorted out, because I really do like having that starting soon screen. I like being able to send out notifications a few minutes before things actually get going, so people have time to get their tea, you know, while I'm also getting my tea. And then the other thing is that I'm still figuring out the colors on this camera, so if it looks a little inconsistent between videos, it's because I'm still trying to find the best place to have it to make the least amount of editing for me later, and also to make it possible to edit it. I've had some weird issues where I can't quite make my skin look like skin color no matter what I do, so if I accidentally look like a void elf, I'm probably not a void elf. I'm not actually purple in real life, I just don't know what I'm doing yet, but I'm working on it. Questions from this week. Faye Wolf asks, hey Hazel, as a female streamer, do you get a lot of inappropriate comments? I wanted to start streaming, but I am incredibly worried about harassment. Do you use a VPN to protect your IP, etc.? So for the first part of your question, yeah, I get lots of inappropriate comments, but I think most people do online, and because of the fact, and that doesn't make it better for people to leave those comments, But because that I know that that kind of thing happens to literally everybody, I can look at somebody online that I really admire and I can look in the comments of their content and there's people just spewing absolute trash. And I know that their content's great and that they're amazing and that I want to be them when I grow up. And seeing that kind of thing happen while it sucks makes it a lot easier to just brush off random rude comments. As far as real life harassment and things like people messaging your family or finding out where you live, it's always a risk, and that's something that you have to be aware of when you put yourself out there online. But there's a lot of ways that you can kind of mitigate that. And the best way I find to go about it is just to be really, really paranoid with any personal information at all. I don't stream through a VPN because that would be just murder on your streaming speed and your bandwidth and might not even work properly. But you want to be really, really careful with things like clicking links. That's a way that people can get your IP. Anything that has any of your real life info, like a Facebook or whatnot, you just want to keep very, very, very far away from your online presence. Just make sure that you have very, very clear dividing lines and with no crossover, like no shared emails, no shared passwords, no shared profile pictures, that kind of thing. It's very easy for somebody to reverse search a picture of you and find your Facebook page. So just be really careful with your online footprint in regards to your identity. And that's good advice, not just for somebody looking to stream or make YouTube videos, but for pretty much anybody online. Maddie asks, so completely random question, how many teas do you think you own / have had? The have had makes that one a lot harder to pin down. As far as owning right now, I'm staring in the direction of my tea cupboard like that's gonna tell me. I think actually counting them would be a little bit prohibitive at this point, and there's quite a few in there, but I can say that I have that 3-tier cupboard that's fairly deep, and it's pretty much packed. So if you would assume that I can fit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's probably between 30 and 60 teas in there. That's my estimate. I could be really wrong. I was never very good at estimating stuff in estimate class as a kid, but somewhere around there, and they are all delicious, and I can't pick a favorite, so don't make me. Cupcake Cat asks, what are your rarest mounts? Example, do you have like ashes, etc.? So in terms of mounts that I have that other people don't have, the rarest ones that I have are probably my TCG mounts. I have almost all of the TCG mounts, not every one of them. I don't have the camel, I don't have the chicken, and I don't have the unarmored spectral tiger, but I do have the armored Swiss spectral tiger, and I have pretty much-ish, I think, all of the other TCG mounts. I bought them all with gold back when I had a lot of gold in Warlords, and they weren't worth as much gold back then. They're definitely more expensive now because of the discontinuation of the TCG game. So those are probably the rarest ones I have in terms of how many other people have them. There's not too many people with the Swiss Spectral Tiger. They're around, but they're not everywhere. And then in terms of like raid drop mounts, I have a bunch of the like 1%-ish drop mounts. Like I have both Fireland mounts, I have the old Kara mount, I have a bunch of dungeon mounts like the Baron Rivendare mount and the Vortex Pinnacle Stonecore mounts. I have all those. I don't have Ashes, I don't have Invincible. There's definitely a lot of mounts that I'm still working on the Mount Run streams, but I have a good amount. You know, I have the highest mount collection achievement. I don't really know what else I want. Nick asks, do you have a Patreon, Hazel? Yes, I do. Patreon.com/Hazelnuttygames, and there you can find perks such as voting on what we make in the baking streams, which is happening right now, I might add. Battle pet giveaways, I name pets after patrons, there's Discord rewards where you basically get a shiny name on Discord, and then the top tier gets a print of some WoW fan art that I attempt to draw every month, printed and signed and mailed to them every month. I said every month a lot there, but that's basically what's going on Patreon. Assfist, the little Lenny Beane asks, Hazel, do you know if when BFA comes out and we get artifact mogs, if we get to mog druid forms and not just the weapon? So I don't know for sure. My understanding of it is that you will be able to mog to the weapon and that will give you the druid form. I think that's how it works. Is that how it works for the Firelands Flame Cat, or do you have to actually wear the Firelands Flame Cat staff to look like the Flame Cat? I don't know. Austin asks, are those framed posters or canvases? My wall hangs on the back there. Those are canvas wall hangs. They are from Blizzard Gear. They are no longer on Blizzard Gear, and that's probably my most asked question is where did you get those and where can I get them? And unfortunately, they're just not there anymore. Sim Est asks, that's actually a reasonably up-to-date machine in regards to my computer. What does it not do that you want it to do? So it does not record smooth 4K 60 FPS footage, and I know that I'm asking for a lot, and I know that it's the most ridiculous thing considering I make battle pet videos on YouTube, but I want it to record and encode well at 4K 60 FPS. A lot of my editing, specifically for boss guides, involves big zooms and cropping video to display something, and being able to do that without losing a whole bunch of pixels would be really nice. It can play WoW in 4K like a monster. It plays WoW in 4K, no problem, 100 frames per second. It's great, it looks awesome, but it can't quite encode and record that without dropping a whole bunch of frames, so that's what it doesn't quite do. And I know I'm being spoiled, but I want it. That has been my week, and before I go, I'm going to take a minute to talk again about my sponsor for this month, the Dollar Shave Club. So, Dollar Shave Club is, of course, a place where you can get razors, but it's also a place where you can get all sorts of other grooming products that you wouldn't expect because they call themselves Dollar Shave Club, not the Dollar Moisturizer Club or the Dollar Toothpaste Club, but I suppose that would just be kind of a lot of names, and branding's important. They've also got hair care, they've got dental stuff like I mentioned, they've got shower stuff, and they have skincare. And I was looking and their skincare selection is lit. They carry a daily face moisturizer with sunscreen and lip balms with sunscreen, and if you are not already wearing something daily on your face with SPF to protect you against sun damage, you really want to look into that. Wearing sunscreen every day is the number one best thing that you can do to make your skin look better, not only right away, because it does help you look better right away, it'll also help you look better in 5, 10, 20 years. It's a massive thing that you can do to kind of help prevent facial aging, and of course, wearing sunscreen every day is one of the best things that you can do to protect yourself against skin cancer. So if you don't already have an SPF on your face, I strongly recommend you get one from anywhere, but Dollar Shave Club does offer one, and you can order that right along with your razor kit, which is pretty decent value. For $5, you can get yourself a nice box that includes their highest end razor handle with 6 blades. You get 4 of those 6-blade cartridges so that you can continue shaving for longer than a weekend, and they'll also set you up with some wipes, with some body wash, and with my favorite, the shave butter, which is evidenced as my favorite by the fact that this is already over half empty. This is a sample size. If you buy a full size one of these, it's going to be a lot bigger, and I'm already kind of converted to getting this forever because it's the only shave that I've ever had in my life where you don't really need to moisturize after. You can, you know, they'll sell you some moisturizer, but it's the only one where I felt actually, you know, moisturized after I was done shaving, so that was kind of cool. That whole box with all that stuff can be yours for $5. You want to go to dollarshaveclub.com/hazelnutty. They will ship to America, Canada, the UK, and Australia, and then after your first box, if you want to continue getting the replacement razors, it's between $3 and $9 a month, depending on how many blades you want. If you have any questions that you would like answered on the vlog, please leave them as comments on the most recent vlog. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye!